We want to welcome everybody to the VOCES podcast brought to you by the Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber. My name is Galindo. I'm one of the board members for the chamber.
And my name is Chris Hoffman. I'm the chairman of the board.
The focus this year for the chamber has been how do we provide as much value to our members? And one of the things that we started discussing is how can we get people more exposure? How can we have them share their stories? Because there's a ton of stories. Anybody that's been involved with our chamber, you get to meet some really, really interesting, really, really cool people. And so we thought, well, a podcast is the perfect platform to allow people to come on, and whether you're one of the Diamante members, whether you're somebody that is just a small business owner, your first year in business, whatever it may be, everybody has a story. And so what better way to really put it out there and let our members know who is part of our chamber than bringing a podcast together?
Absolutely. And I think you hit nail on head. The goal here is to really give people the opportunity to tell their stories from how their families came here, how their businesses came about, what is the future state, what are some of their problems. And I think that it's important when we get together and talk, that's where problems get solved.
Yeah.
So.
Over the last couple of years, so I've been involved with the chamber going on 4 years now. And I don't know if you remember the very first time that you went to a chamber event, but I remember vividly. From the very first time, it just felt different. It felt unique. It felt genuine. It didn't feel forced. Whenever there's, networking organizations or different events that are meant for bringing either entrepreneurs or business professionals together, there tends to be a little bit of a connotation of like, oh, somebody's going to try to sell me something, And I remember thinking the first time that I went to an event, I was like, man, it feels good. It's a good vibe. Like, I want to be a part of this. And over the last couple of years, I've met countless people where I've got to hear their story, whether they were keynote speakers at events or people that we just met at some of our events throughout the week. There's a lot of impact in the chamber, and I'm really excited to see, where this goes here in the future.
No, I completely agree. And for me, that's the feeling when walking into that first event and the way I felt that it wasn't a transactional relationship, that I walked in as a non-Hispanic person, Italian background, and people want to know me first. And I think that's something I've grown to really appreciate about Hispanic culture because it's the people. They look at the hearts. It's they care about you. And if we can do business and help each other later, that is, what's going to happen. So it's been an amazing journey for me being on the outside, getting to have the opportunity to learn a culture that I've always loved. And growing up, I had a Hispanic nanny from El Salvador. And that's my first taste at a young age while my mom is sick. And that's one of the things I think back on of my why is, I grew up here in Houston. This is all of our culture. It's a collective. It's a melting pot. And that's where I'm most proud of it.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to share people's stories and background because it helps to inspire others that are like them. I know that I've seen podcasts or I've heard people's stories and I say, wow, I feel like I'm them. I feel like I was there. I'm bonded to them. And it's really powerful when you can do that, where you can inspire people, where you can let them feel seen in a way. And so I think the purpose behind this is really to create a platform where people can do that.
Absolutely. And create a platform for people to be heard and experience each other. And that's something that I think is extremely important, where when we have our Viernes con Chamber on Fridays, it's the whole goal is for people just to interact, get to know each other in a setting that is not forced. It's not a 30-second commercial for your business. It's let's get together and have coffee.
Yeah, I think another thing that I enjoy is that there's a connotation, like people think, oh, it's the Hispanic chamber, so I have to be Hispanic to join, right? And that's not the case. I mean, we have so many people that are involved, that are engaged in the chamber that aren't Hispanic. And the purpose of the chamber really is to help the Hispanic business community prosper. But within the Hispanic business community, it's more than just Hispanics, right? Because it extends indirectly to other places. And so it's just one big community. And I've really enjoyed being a part of it over the last 4 years.
100%. And just like you said, it's an ecosystem. It's built of employees in different lines of business that represent a collective, and that's something where I really appreciate our diversity in our chamber, because it's not about, do you speak Spanish? No habla,
Yeah.
but but who you are. How can we connect? And I think the other piece that I really love is the educational piece of teaching people about culture, learning about culture, and then how we can all work together in a more efficient way. And in today's world, I think it's even more important that we look at the similarities between us and not so much of the differences.
Yeah. I think that it's important to know too, kind of like what does the chamber do, right? So we're building this podcast so that people can share their story and we can get to know them and give them exposure, things like that. But outside of that, the chamber serves a lot of different purposes. One that you kind of helped kind of lead is a mentorship program that kind of starts a pipeline of students getting their experience working to eventually either corporate jobs, professional jobs, trades, all of that, called Conexión. And it's initiatives like that that really make a tangible impact. And, that's something that we've talked about in the chamber, making actual tangible impact, because it's easy to say like, oh yeah, we're in the community, we're doing this and that. But what is it really doing, right? Like
Right.
what can you show for it? And so that's one of the ways that I think is really powerful, that we can create change by bringing companies together with the future workforce and the students. And I'm really excited to see how that's gonna blossom really over the next couple of years.
Me too, and appreciate you bringing that up. I think one of the creative things and innovations that we do in our chamber is look at problems in the business world and try to find a solution. And one of my passions is education. And before I started my career in banking, I was a tennis coach, and I absolutely loved working with kids. And that's where our future economy is dependent on the next generation that we bring up. And it's up to us as people that have done that and gone into the professional field to bring the don't pull the ladder up, but put the hand down. And if we do that in an intentional way where we can help them develop and really build on the soft skills that COVID kind of took away from them, it can be an amazing thing. And as a region, we need a great workforce to drive companies moving here. And if we can do our part by helping people that might not have exposure to family members or other mentors that can teach them. I think of a lot of the first generation students that are trying to make their way into the world, and they don't know which way to go. And if we can just say, hey, do this or talk to this person, stay connected through LinkedIn, or reach out when you have questions, you can make that process faster. Because I know myself, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and it's been a very roundabout journey to get to where I'm at. And it's if I look back and I'm like, man, if I would have known about this, I would have known about chambers whenever I ran my tennis business. It would have changed my outlook on how to network, how to build that ecosystem around me.
Yeah, and I think we can't really talk about initiatives without talking about the women's initiative that's just blown up over the last year, called She Se Puede. It's an initiative that was started, I guess, yeah, right about a year ago, and it's for women business leaders, professionals, and that has just taken off like wildfire.
It has, and from the beginning of the idea and when it was brought to our leadership, the purpose of being a platform for women's groups and giving other groups the ability to tell their story, tell their why, teach an educational lesson, and then just be around other women in the workforce. I think there's a lot of things culturally that we've had a shift over the last few years, that you have more women in the workplace. You have working moms, you have two dual incomes, and it's necessary based on the economic pressures that we feel. And so the landscape's changed. It's not you're staying at home, you're out there kicking ass.
Yeah. So one of the things too that just kind of hits close to home for me when we're talking about initiatives is really just informing our community of what's going on. And so when we talk about, Hispanic business, I think immigration is something that is always kind of talked about, right? And not from like a political standpoint, but just from a informational standpoint. And that hits close to home for me. I'm an immigrant myself. I'm originally from Honduras. I was a DACA recipient. just recently got my residency. And so I've been through that process, and I know there's so many people that have gone through that process that maybe didn't have the chances that I had. But some of the events that we've held is to inform people of, what are the laws, what are the labor laws when it comes to immigration and different immigration status, kind of what's happening now in Congress, and how can we help the Hispanic business community that is being affected, by whatever the current laws are. And I think that as a chamber, it's really important for us to provide those resources and to provide advice and guidance on how to navigate, the business side of things.
Absolutely. And, adding in is collecting the data, getting the information from our Hispanic business leaders and business owners of what do they need? Where can we bridge that gap between the private and public sector and give the pipeline so information can get to their elected officials so actual change can happen? And super excited to really focus on how to navigate the immigration space and help people learn, because I think there's a lot of disinformation and things of that people just don't understand. When I think of our skilled labor force and we look at our aging population and baby boomers moving out of all the trades, you look at plumbing, HVAC, electricians, we don't have a pipeline of talent that's going to replace them. And that goes back to the Connection program. But in the short term, as we develop those minds and shift the conversation from you got to go to college to you can build a beautiful company out of anything, I think it's we're going to have to fill that gap by bringing in skilled labor from other places. And that the only way to do that is through immigration programs. And if we don't have a good, solid path, it's just not effective.
Yeah. I think our workshops are another area where we're providing really tangible impact. So it's kind of a twofold type of deal, because we're able to give exposure to our members that have the expertise, that have the knowledge, and we're able to bring value to our members by bringing them in a room and having them teach on all kind of subjects. We've got a tax one that's coming up that's going to be really powerful. Taxes for small business, where we've got somebody from the bookkeeping side that's going to share, how can small businesses make sure that they're ready to file, making sure their books are good. And we're going to have a CPA that's actually going to talk about strategy and what can businesses do this tax season to take advantage of it, right? We've got a ton more that are lined up over the next couple of months. Access to capital, insurance. I mean, all kind of really good, knowledgeable things that really any business owner, any sales professional should know about. And so it's really cool that all of that is like really coming together now.
And I think it's intentional, where that's the starting point for these conversations is having access to the people that are experts. Because something I realized in my business is, sure, I can do a lot of different things, but I need experts. I need the people that know how to do taxes, that know insurance, because those are things that I'm not strong in. And when you evolve in your business life cycle and you realize I need to have experts and a better team, it changes the game. And we see that on my professional side all the time. As companies scale, they need experts. Do you have the right people and right partners? And that's where it starts, is that workshop learning series where you get to meet the right person, or you meet the person that's going to introduce you to someone. And I think that's also a key, is being intentional on making those introductions. Because if you walk into a shop and they say they can't help you, it's kind of defeating. Where if you walk in and they go that extra step of, how do I connect you and find you that solution? And I'm a huge believer of karma, that you do good in the world, it comes back around, not for one purpose of getting reciprocity, but it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, and that makes me think back to whenever we did a panel with immigration attorneys. A lot of the people that were in the audience showed up because they were scared to really like reach out to a lawyer, or they didn't even really know where to start. And so I remember that a lot of them said, "Man, thanks for putting this together, because it got me out of like my comfort zone and got me to where I needed to hear all these things, And they were able to connect with the different attorneys. I think a couple of them actually were helped out by the attorneys, And so things like that, I mean, it's just a lot of impact.
And it's so invaluable. It's what we need in our space, and we have to have intentionality behind it. And for me, I think of the most impactful thing I've got to experience has been Adelante, our
Mm,
Hispanic Business Expo. I think that was an amazing idea and so needed in a space where we represent a underserved population and the voices need to be heard. When you hear, and I learned that day, um, Latinos and Latinas in the United States are the fifth largest GDP, just as United States.
hmm
That's incredible. You know, you look at the average age of a Hispanic family or a person is 30, whereas almost every other demographic is in the further along the curve there. And so you're seeing families start younger and you start seeing a huge shift in how things are starting to go, especially here in Montgomery County. I think that is the biggest thing is we look at what's happening in our own space regionally. You're seeing a lot of movement here for the fact that this is a fantastic community. And myself, I grew up on the other side of Houston in the Clear Lake area. Always discounted the Woodlands because I had a rivalry with the tennis guys. But once I moved up here and I got to meet people and I got to see what it's about and why people were so infatuated and love this area, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a magical place and it's unique. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that we're top 5 always for fastest growing places because this is the heart of information. We have a great public school system, amazing hospitals, professional services, and the more companies come in, we have the resources around what their population needs and their workforce needs to have a great lifestyle. It's live, work, pray, or play.
I think it's amazing that Montgomery County is, like you said, always in the top 5 of fastest growing counties. Conroe's one of the fastest growing cities. I've been in the Woodlands area since 2004 and I've seen it explode and it's supposed to grow even more. I live right in front of where they're building the Ritz Carlton residences, and to see that going up is crazy. But just where our businesses are on 1488, I mean, just look 5 years ago to what it looked like to what it looks like now, and then to think what another 5 years is going to look like. And you can say the same for a lot of the different areas, Lake Conroe, going out towards Montgomery, going into Willis, New Caney. I mean, there's a lot of areas that are just blowing up right now. You know, like all the construction, new strip centers, new businesses, new neighborhoods. And so I can't help but think that the amount of opportunities that are coming into our county, if you're a business owner, man, you've got to be really, really excited because there's just so much opportunity and so much potential.
Absolutely. And you can see it just like you mentioned in these outskirts of Montgomery County. I live in Willis. And when I moved in Willis, I had the privilege of working on their bank accounts and seeing the hockey stick growth. When we bought our house in March of 2020 as the pandemic's coming down on us, I saw potential. And now you fast forward a couple of years, we have all sorts of new things. And it's so cool to see it go from being a stopping point for people to pass through, grab some fast food, to now you're seeing it really flourish, and just like you're saying out in East Montgomery County, same thing. Up in Magnolia, it's all these different places that companies can come in because they have the space to do manufacturing. You have the resources and professional services supported in more the hub of Woodlands. And we're really becoming a Fort Worth to a Dallas as here in Houston. And that is super exciting to see. The amount of companies moving here and relocating, it's incredible. And I think we have to foster that as much as we can, put in the engine and pathways for not only all businesses, but primarily for the people we serve in the Hispanic Chamber. And I think the way to do that is to continue to invest time, energy into every single level, not just our top sponsors and top members, but giving our small businesses because they need the most help. They are entrepreneurs trying to figure out which way do I go. And if they don't have a resource, a business marketplace, and that's really, I think, the goal for us is to make it a place where when you need information, you need to figure out how to get to someone or you need to know someone, you think of Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber.
Yeah, and I think the growth also brings about collaboration. I think in our industry, for example, we have a coffee shop, but we collaborate with other coffee shops because as this area is growing, n- there's not one place that can serve the entire marketplace, you know? And as we collaborate, we're able to really better serve our community when we collaborate. And so that's one of the things that I've really enjoyed about the chamber is getting to know other people, even if they're in the same industry, because we can kick ideas off of each other. We can talk about marketing. We can talk about what's working, what's not working, and there's that collaboration is healthy for business. You know, I think it's really easy to think like, oh no, they're competitors. I don't want to tell them anything, but you have to have that abundance mindset to say, hey, we can't serve them all. So
Exactly right.
let's team up and let's make it happen.
You're spot on. In my industry, we when I come across other professionals, we talk about that all the time, that there's enough business here for everyone, and we all serve in different ways and fit in the market in different places. And so when we really lean into supporting the community, which indirectly supports the businesses and our businesses, that's the secret sauce. Because when people go out and they're going to different restaurants, they're going to different shops, if you show your heart and you care about what they care about, I'd bet 9 times out of 10 you're going to do business with them. And so that's something I'm extremely passionate about, is being good in the world. You know, having the stance and not looking down upon someone that's not at the level of any offering I can give, and saying, hey, come up. Here's
Yeah.
how you get to this.
Yeah. Now I know we just hit everybody with a lot of information about the chamber, and we can probably talk about this for
All day.
hours.
All day.
But what can people expect out of the podcast? Well, for one, we mentioned we're going to have real people that are in the community building businesses, that have built businesses. Some of them have sold businesses, and a ton of them, and share their stories. We're going to have different segments that may be by industry. So we talked about, you know, something on immigration, something on access to capital, something maybe that will go in line with what our workshops are showing as well. And so for the very first episode, we're going to have somebody that is just an incredible person to start off with, but just a very genius business mind, Arturo Enriquez, who is a serial entrepreneur. We got to meet him at Adelante. He was a keynote speaker, and I took a lot away from his story. And so I'm excited to be able to get him here and to share his side as well.
Absolutely. And I've had the distinct pleasure of getting to know him on a personal level, and he just has that mind, and so educated, and just his passion is to give back.
Yeah, he sold like 60 businesses or something like that, right? Or like grown or
Absolutely. It's wrote a book. He's an author.
That's true, yeah.
He had podcasts. I mean, he is a great individual just to be around and get to learn from. And I'm so excited to have him. I can't wait.
I
Couldn't
am
wait for
too.
that discussion.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited too. So stay tuned. Our podcast will be on YouTube, and so stay tuned for our future guests. And we're really excited to be able to do this, and you know, we hope that everybody gets a lot of value out of this.
Please let us know what you think, and love feedback and any kind of information that we can gather and build this based on y'all's voices. So thank you.
Yeah, so thanks again for watching the VOCES podcast, where we're showing real people that are building businesses, creating opportunities, and strengthening our community every day. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode. Boom. One take, man. One take.